Hello everyone, I'm Anna, your cinephile host. Mary Poppins was a popular musical back in the 1970s produced by Walt Disney. It's hard to imagine that the joyful musicals tortured Walt Disney for 20 years to get permission from the author of the story, Mrs. Pamela Travers. In the movie Saving Mr. Banks, all the backstage stories of the light-hearted movie were revealed and shocked the audience. The reason why Mrs. Travers wanted to protect her story from being produced into a movie was related to her Electra complex. Eventually, Walt Disney saves her from her past and saves the major character in her story, Mr. Banks, an icon of her father. It's 1961 in London. Agent Russell urges financially strapped author Pamela P.L. Travers to travel to Los Angeles and meet with Walt Disney. Disney has pursued the film rights to her Mary Poppins stories for 20 years, having promised his daughters to produce a film based on the books. Travers has steadfastly resisted Disney's efforts, fearing what he will do to her character. Having written nothing new and her book royalties drying up, she risks losing her house. Russell reminds her that Disney has agreed to two major stipulations: no animation and unprecedented script approval before she finally agrees to go.
We've been trying to do this deal for 20 years. He's agreed to both your stipulations: no animation, script approval.
Use her to pay my bills. If I believed in a hell, I'd be sitting in its waiting room.
Script approval? He's never granted anything like that before. I don't know what else to do.
Flashbacks depict Travers' difficult childhood in Elora, Queensland, Australia in 1906, which became the inspiration for much of Mary Poppins. Travers idolized her loving, imaginative father, Travers Robert Goff, but his chronic alcoholism resulted in his repeated dismissals, strained her parents' marriage, and caused her distressed mother's attempted suicide. Goff died from tuberculosis when Travers was 7 years old. Prior to his death, her mother's stern and practical sister came to live with the family and later served as Travers' main inspiration for the Mary Poppins character.
I'm here now, and I shall fix everything. I thought I made it perfectly clear that you two ought to start helping. Spit spot!
In Los Angeles, Travers is annoyed by what she perceives as the city's unreality and the overly familiar inhabitants, personified by her friendly limousine driver, Ralph. At the Walt Disney Studios in Burbank, Travers meets the creative team that is developing Mary Poppins for the screen: screenwriter Don DeGrady and music composers Richard and Robert Sherman. She finds their presumptions and casual manners highly improper, a view that she also holds of the jocular Disney. So, she subconsciously finds fault with them in everything.
We can't make the picture without the color red. The film is set in London, for Pete's sake.
And?
Well, there's buses and mailboxes and guards' uniforms and things, and heck, the English flag.
I understand your predicament, Mr. Disney, I do. It's just... I don't know what it is. I'm suddenly very anti-red. I shan't be wearing it ever again.
Travers' working relationship with Disney and his team is difficult from the outset, with her insistent that Mary Poppins is the enemy of sentiment and whimsy. Disney and his people are puzzled by Travers' disdain for fantasy, given the nature of the Mary Poppins story, as well as Travers' own rich imagination. She particularly objects to how the character George Banks, the children's estranged father, is depicted, insisting that he is neither cold nor cruel. Yes, Mrs. Travers is a piece of work. However, she's in the office working with the music guys, and Disney believes that he will find a way to make Mrs. Travers happy. He and the crew pull out all the stops to satisfy her wish, to see if there's an opportunity to make her cooperate. Gradually, the team grasps how deeply personal the Mary Poppins story are to Travers and how many of the characters were inspired by her past, especially Mr. Banks, the image of her father.
Money. Money, money. Don't don't you buy into it, kitten?
Serves me right. Oh, money, money, money. Bit me on the bot.
The team acknowledges that Travers has valid criticism and makes changes, although she becomes increasingly disengaged as painful childhood memories resurface. Seeking to understand what troubles her, Disney invites Travers to Disneyland, which, along with her developing friendship with Ralph, the creative team's revisions to the George Banks character, and the addition of a new song and a different ending, helped dissolve Travers' opposition. Her creativity reawakens and she begins collaborating with the team. Soon afterward, however, Travers is enraged to discover an animation sequence has been added. She confronts Disney over this and returns home.
Penguins have very much upset me, Mr. Disney. Animated dancing penguins. Now you have seduced me with the music, Mr. Disney. Yes, you have. Those Sherman boys have quite turned my head. But I shall not be moved upon the matter of cartoons, sir. Not 1 inch.
Disney learns that P.L. Travers is a pen name taken from Travers' father's given name. Her real name is Helen Gough, and she is Australian, not English. That gives Disney new insight into Travers, and he follows her to London. Arriving unexpectedly at her home, Disney shares his own less-than-ideal childhood, but stresses the healing value of his art. He urges Travers not to let deeply rooted past disappointments dictate the present.
You need to forgive Helen Gough. Life is a harsh sentence to lay down for yourself. Give her to me. Mrs. Travers, trust me with your precious Mary Poppins.
That night, after Disney had left, Travers relented, granting the film rights. 3 years later, in 1964, Travers began writing another Mary Poppins story, while Mary Poppins is to have its world premiere at Grauman's Chinese Theater in Hollywood. Disney has not invited Travers, fearing how she might react when the press watching. Prompted by Russell, Travers shows up unannounced at Disney's office. He reluctantly issues her an invitation. Initially, she watches Mary Poppins with a lack of enthusiasm, particularly during the animated sequences. She gradually warms to the rest of the film, however, becoming deeply moved by the depiction of George Banks' personal crisis and redemption.
It's all right. It's all right, Mrs. Travers. Mr. Banks going to be all right, I promise.
It's just... I can't abide cartoons.
Saving Mr. Banks is the theme and title of the movie. But who do you think Mr. Banks is in Mrs. Travers' real life? It's no more than the father in Mary Poppins' story. Or it's her father? Or it's Mrs. Travers herself? I'm also wondering why Walt Disney produces this movie, Saving Mr. Banks, after Mary Poppins. Anyway, Mary Poppins is a really happy musical movie, and Saving Mr. Banks tells us that a delighted heart surely can save the soul behind a dark inner ego. Hope you've learned something from this episode. You can find more on Fundy website. See you guys there.
Good morning, Pamela.
It is so discomforting to hear a perfect stranger use my first name. Mrs. Travers, please.
I do apologize, Mrs. Travers. I'm Don DeGrady, the scriptwriter.
Co-scriptwriter? I shall certainly be having my say, Mr. DeGrady.
DeGrady. Wonderful. I welcome your input.
If indeed we ever sign off on a script.
Right. This is the rest of your team. This is Dick and Bob Sherman, music and lyrics boys, the one and only Mrs. P.L. Travers, the creator of our beloved Mary.
Poppins.
Who else?
Mary Poppins. Never ever just Mary.